Well, good day, YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Albino Rhino Beer Review. Today you have the Rhino, and we're looking at a beer. Today's beer is from Alberta. It is from New Level Brewing. It is 4.5% alcohol by volume. It is considered a American lager. This is New Level's Hellion lager. And there's the devil with a gas can riding a skateboard and all that. So they obviously have changed their marketing and their look a lot over the last few years. The reason I say that is right here. So on Untapped, one of my friends had this beer and they had it 2 years ago. That's what it looked like then. This is what it looks like now. Very different look, very different marketing ideas here. For me personally, I will not say that I don't like what this label looks like. I do. The label looks awesome. However, also for me, I think the old school look is more what I like personally. And he had that in London, Ontario, so somebody had brought it back, obviously. Yeah, no, I'm very, very, very intrigued with the way stuff like I'm not wearing pants. See, no pants, just my unders. And I say that because I keep seeing my legs show up in there. Usually I'm wearing shorts, and today I'm not. Anyway, back to this. I get really interested in the way marketing changes. And what matters is what's in the can. However, I could almost guarantee, and I know it's been a few years now and prices on everything have gone up, but I could almost guarantee that if I was to buy this beer here in this province 2 years ago when it had the just plain label, that it probably cost a lot less than it does now. And that's the main thing to keep in mind, right? Marketing does cost money. Hell, when Ontario hired a marketing firm to make the Ontario Cannabis Store logo, they spent like $250,000. The logo was just the letters OCS. Like, come on. Spent about the same amount of money when they changed the font of the LCBO logo. Marketing can be an expensive venture. And yeah, it's just something to keep in mind. Marketing can be an expensive venture. Crystal clear, golden color, bright white head, very frothy. It looks like a beer. It looks exactly like what a beer should look like. Like if you were to just put a lager down in front of me, this is what my lager should look like. Isn't what it always looks like with some companies, but I would be very appreciative of that beer. There we go. Sorry, for that adding more information than you need to know, because people love that I do that. I pulled an ingrown toenail out yesterday, and it was bleeding quite a bit. That was just me getting rid of some of the dried blood on that toe. I felt it, and it felt like I had left a piece of nail in, but no, I didn't. I didn't leave a piece of nail in. I broke both my big toes. Both of my big toes are my problem, but I broke them both. And the one on my right, I was never able to dig it out myself, so I had to go to the hospital and get my toe bed reshaped, where they peeled off the two sides of the nail bed so that your nail doesn't grow all the way across anymore. So there's like a couple millimeters on each side that doesn't grow across, which is why that one never gets ingrown anymore. But that one does have this little tiny piece that they missed that will grow out every once in a while. I have to pull that out from by the root. And then the other one, they never rebuilt it because it was one of those surgeries that didn't matter all that much. You know, you can live with an ingrown toe. It's not fucking fun, but it's not something that's going to be life changing. So you kept getting put on the back burner. So I went to my family doctor and they pulled the nail off. Now I just pull it out myself all the time. The more you know, eh? Smell of the beer. You probably all turned it off by now, so hey, I'd like to fuck now. Grassy, grainy, a little bit of sweetness. It smells like a lager should smell like. So this did come in the $40 8-pack. So you're looking at $5 a beer, and that I think is where, and I mean, one of the beers that was in that package is technically worth more because it would come in the $60 8-pack from the same brewery, and the other 3 beers that were in that 8-pack don't. So I mean, could you argue that maybe that beer's worth $6 a can and the other ones are worth $4 or something like that, or $7 and $4? Probably $7.25 and $4s. Yeah, you could probably say that, but I'm not. If it's a mixed pack, they should all basically be pretty much in line in the thought process of the mixed pack. So I'm going to be looking at this as if it was a $5 plus tax plus deposit beer. And because it smells so much like what it should smell like, I will mark it as a standard lager as well when we're done, because it smells just like an American lager. I mean, a lot of craft breweries, especially craft breweries that would make a can that looked like that, would go all out and like hop it up and everything else. This one smells like it's an American lager. Cheers, let's try it. Soft. Almost creamy. Soft, almost creamy. A little bit of dirtiness on the back of the palate. Slight bit of cut grass, almost Pilsner-esque. And I know it's an American lager, not a Pilsner, but they do have some similarities. Really, it shouldn't have that cut grass flavor, but it works with this. Nice graininess, nice sweetness, nice creamy light mouthfeel. Chris always talks about finding a craft brewer that does a lager properly, where you get that stereotypical lager bite. This has that. This has that stereotypical, quintessential lager bite. All that being said, stylistically it's great, but at $5 plus tax, plus deposit a can, it's not that great. And actually, I think that's pretty, because I did see this in a 4-pack. I don't remember the price. I believe it was like $24 for the 4-pack. Or 20, was it 20? It was over 20 for the 4-pack. So like $20.99 or something. So that makes it even more money. But again, that isn't necessarily going to be the price at every bottle shop. That was Sobeys Liquor. And I get it, they're private alcohol establishments, which means that they have to pay what the government tells them they have to pay, plus make a profit on it. But I'm still looking at what I pay out of my pocket for it. Is it a good beer? It's a fucking good beer if you like yourself a lager. If you're just after a lager, excuse me, solid beer. Nothing wrong with that beer at all. Out of 10 stylistically, probably an 8.5. That is amazing. Now, to the price per can marking. I don't think I would buy it again. There is enough macro beers and there is enough other craft beers that I could get that taste very similar, albeit some of them might be higher ABV in the 5 range instead of 4.5, because I really do appreciate the lower ABV of this. Also, they're not going to be as fancy looking, but there is so many macro and craft beers alike that I could get for a lot less that will taste fairly similar. For instance, it's not the exact same. It has a lot more of a tinny taste to it. But other than the tinny taste, the taste is fairly similar. Would be, well, tinny taste, and this has the cut grass. So take the cut grass out, make it a little more like soda watery, and add that tinniness, albeit this I can drink warm, that one I can't. But like No Name Light, I would say at $34.99 for a 2-4 is probably better for my money if this is the type of beer I'm looking for. And the reason for that is it is also made by a craft brewer here in Canada. Because a lot of times you're told, don't go to the macro guys because their money leaves the country and this. Okay, if we're going to say that, you know, even though the big guys employ huge amounts of people and do a lot of support around the country, even if we're going to look away from that, and we can, if you want to, go ahead and look away from it. I can't control what you do. But if we're going to bring that up as the reason why you shouldn't go to macro companies, that you should go to a craft brewer, well then when you find a craft brewer that makes a beer, albeit inferior but close to that, at less than half price of that, which craft brewer do you go to and why? Now, the reason to drink a lager, in my opinion, a lager is the beer you drink to get drunk. Like if I'm drinking a stout, maybe I'm drinking it to get drunk, but for the most part, I'm drinking that stout to enjoy it, to cherish the flavor, to experience something. When I'm drinking just a plain American lager, I'm drinking it maybe to cherish and enjoy that moment with friends, but in the end, I'm hoping to bring down my inhibitions and have a little bit more fun. So for that reason alone, I wouldn't buy it again. There's nothing wrong with it, but I wouldn't buy it again. It's a great lager. And if you can get it a lot cheaper in Calgary or on tap, it's a no-brainer to pick something like that. But for me, here in Regina, to pick it up and bring it home, smarter for me to go with a few different choices. So I'll give it a 6 out of 10 overall. And that makes it like a 7.25 out of 10 in the general overallness of my 8.5 and my 6. So yeah, it's a good beer. It is a good beer. I just wouldn't buy it again for the reasons I stated. For what I'm getting out of this, I can get the same, albeit a little cheaper tasting for cheaper. And if I really looked into it, I could probably find a craft or a macro beer that is on par with this for cheaper. Albeit, great beer. If you work for New Level, I loved your Pinball Wizard. I love this beer. Pinball Wizard I could pay the money for. I can't find myself paying the money for this again. Maybe if it was in another a mix pack that had like 3 other beers that I hadn't had, and this was in there, I'd be like, you know what, I like that beer, whatever. But just on its own, I couldn't. Anyway, I've wasted too much time. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.